What's up guys, Jay here coming at you in 8K. That's 8,000 kilograms, not resolution. And that's also what this thing weighs. Look at the desk, watch.
So Jay likes boats.
USS Fletcher, torpedoes, and agility.
No. He really likes boats.
I'm the Bismarck, I shoot big guns. Oh no!
He really likes boats.
The IJN Yamato, the true fear in the Pacific.
And when he's not playing with his boats, he is building his boats.
Done.
And when he's not building those boats, he's playing with those boats. Online, in World of Warships.
This year marks 250 years of the United States Navy, and World of Warships is celebrating this incredible milestone with one of their biggest events ever, the US Navy 250th Anniversary Celebration. From now through the end of the year, you can build your very own Liberty Harbor, an interactive naval base packed with missions, history, and awesome rewards. Upgrade facilities, send ships on expeditions, and earn naval-based supplies to unlock epic prizes including the brand new Tier 8 Premium Cruiser Bridgeport, free by just playing. New to the game, we'll use invite code STEPUP250 when you sign up on PC to instantly get 20 days of premium account time, the US Tier 3 Cruiser St. Louis, a port slot, and a commander. Plus access to missions that can score you the US Tier 7 Cruiser Boise, 7 super containers, and 40 million credits and more. And for returning players, rejoin the fight and claim special rewards available only during this event. Tackle Liberty Harbor missions to collect valuable items and dive back in with fresh ships and content. So whether you're a new recruit or a seasoned commander, set sail today to celebrate 250 years of naval power in World of Warships. Join the fight and build your legacy at worldofwarships.com.
So yeah, he really likes boats.
Yeah.
I'm finally taking the rig I made to replace it home, but I've got a...
That one over there.
Yeah, it's got Battlefield installed on it and everything now. No, it's just, it takes a while to, like, if you run a system at home for a few years, it accumulates a lot of stuff. You want to make sure you back up and get off, and this is staying entirely together. It's the whole reason why when I built that system, people were like, why don't you just reuse your parts or whatever? It's because I want this to stay... There is fluid drip on there. Okay, that's one of the things we're investigating today is you'll see when I turn it on, my GPU loop has been like, for years it stayed about that level. And then it just slowly, every time I would turn, like every week or so, it was dropping. Now it's about here. So I want to investigate, see, did a small leak form? Yeah, so this is staying together entirely like it is now. Now it's going to be displayed like some of the other systems. I'm not taking anything out of this. So fortunately, if there's anything I didn't get off here that I need, I can still get it because, you know, it's still going to be fully assembled. But I want to investigate today the fluid level and see why is it dropping. First and foremost, let's go ahead and just turn it on and let the pumps move, because with the pumps moving, we can get the air to move, and you'll see what I mean about this one here. A lot of little air bubbles right now. Now here's the thing. Every system, look at the amount of air that's in there.
Yeah, it's almost like it's pumping all air right now.
But every single water-cooled system will like take a while to purge and move all of the air. But I've never had a system that didn't have a leak where the level was stabilized for more than a year and then starts significantly dropping. Now watch, if I tilt this stuff right now, I'll get a lot of air to move. Right now the pumps are turning, that's good. And then Razer Synapse likes to just randomly, you saw I had my color, right? Razer Synapse likes to just randomly do crazy. What is flopping around in there? You can see on top right here, this is the part that was crazy to me. I'm thinking a lot of this discoloration though actually is from the thermal pad, because you can see how it's accumulated around the screw holes, right? Huh. Remember how this is just nothing but one big giant thermal pad on the back? It's kind of like how the EVGA graphics cards would start to have this grease appearing on the backside. A lot of people were thinking something was wrong with their card. No, it's just, that's accumulated thermal grease that through constant heat changes, when it gets hot, then it kind of gets greasy and it's just come up through the screw holes. Look how much the level's gone down already, right? Now the temperatures were fine, honestly. I was actually playing Battlefield 6 on it this morning and the GPU got to about 52 degrees Celsius. It's a 4090 and 450 watt. Actually, I was running it 500 watt and 150 megahertz overclock and minor stuff. But look at the amount of foam down in here. That's all air bubbles. But right now the pump's running really slowly. Obviously it booted into the OS. I do have fan control on this. So fan control controls these pumps too. These pumps are PWM, only PWM, because they're the alpha cool pumps. But I mean, everything's flowing. What I was planning on doing was taking off the top piece right here, putting on like a 90-degree elbow and pressurizing it to see if I'm losing, if I'm losing pressure. If I'm losing pressure with a sealed loop, it should be pushing fluid out somewhere. But I haven't checked the bottom. What I'm hearing, like that sound,
That's air stuck in the pump, right?
that's the foam, the foamy air, the really small microbubbles stuck in the pump. And it just moved it, look at that. Now look at the flow. It's like it was stuck. But you see how much the levels drop still? That's obviously just because the air is making its way to here. But there's no reason why this should have been filled for a year. And then over time, the level starts to drop without it potentially being some sort of leak. But look at the water flow now. Like you saw how that was stuck. Now, one thing I've not been happy with on this system is Singularity makes an awesome distro plate, but you can see there's pressures, there's high pressure and low pressure. So I always had these foam bubbles stuck in like the corners, and it just bothered me when it comes to the aesthetics. That's just always driven me absolutely insane.
It really shows you how fluids kind of just,
Path of least resistance.
they do their own thing. You know,
You've got a 90-degree corner and like 35-degree corners, but it's going to find the flowing average between them, and that's the only place you're gonna get flow. Now you'll notice since I've turned it on, this one hasn't changed levels. And the reason for that is the rad on top is horizontal. So where the air can accumulate is very thin versus the bottom rads down here are vertical. So you can get a big chunk of the top of the rad full of air. And my thought initially was like, yeah, it's going to drop over time because the vertical radiators have a lot more air that can accumulate in them. But eventually that air will move. But for it to suddenly start moving and more aggressively had me concerned. So a couple things I need to do. I need to clean this back plate. I need to take this off right here. Also too, for whatever reason, like when I first turned it on, you may have noticed this lit up, I think. But then like Synapse just, even though these are mapped, it just ignored the bottom fans. So that's really annoying. But this is a 560 radiator in the bottom, but it's huge. And then I've got a 280 back here as well. See, look, if I swing this around, don't judge me for my cable management. I literally follow the, if you can't see it, geez, it's not terrible, but still, like, the Razer Chroma RGB box was the only way I could make all the fans work. And I'm just converting the Lee & Lee fans to the 3-pin ARGB header, and then that's running into this box right here. I'm sure someone right now is like, what case is that? This is a Case Labs SM-A8 that I've had since Case Labs was still around, and then this was new. If you ever find any of the Case Labs like official photos of the gunmetal SM-A8, it's this exact chassis. This was the first one they made. And so it's nostalgic. I've had so many people ask me to buy it, and it's like, no, ow, that's a fan. You cannot buy it from me. This is my drain right here. That's my drain for draining the lower loop, which is a complete pain in the butt and doesn't work too well because of the way that the distro plate in the middle works. It's got those two fittings in the middle that really are just nothing but a pain in the ass. That top tube is so green, and that just shows you how much and this is the Corsair tubing, LRT is what I think it is. Could be vinyl, but anyway, that shows you how yellow it's turned because the blue coolant is mixing with the yellow, turning green, because blue and yellow make green. To give you a color perspective of how much it's changed, that's my drain tube right there. You can see how much more clear it is because there's no flow through that tube. So there's no leaching or plasticizer leaching into the coolant. I'm actually a little disappointed here, and I'll tell you why. There's no leak anywhere in the bottom here. I expected to see a leak down here, like one of my fittings. It would not be the first time that a build in this case has had a leak, a small leak, but yeah, it's still going down. Maybe there was just that much air in it. I guess it just goes to show you how much time it can take for a system to fully bleed. And the problem, what made this one a complete nightmare to try and bleed was that distro plate, honestly. The foam down here never went away because to get rid of it, you need to move it. It has to be moved to here because in that foam is nothing but air that's aerated the glycol. That's all that is. It's just aerated glycol. And unless you were able to get it to move, see I just got a big chunk of it to move, you hear that? But unless you can get it to move, it's just gonna be there and it sucks. So that was one thing that I just really didn't like about this build after I built it. Was like, man, part of the problem too is these two fittings right here. Now I was going out into one rad, back into there, out into another rad, and then up into here, or right? So I could have had Daniel modify this plate to be exactly what I wanted, but the lead time and shipping time from Australia and the cost, because he was DHLing everything, because this is Singularity Computers that made this, it's very expensive. So I just didn't want to do that. But realistically, I would have just ditched these two ports and just had it connect and keep going. And then I wouldn't have had to do cross-flow rad, because what would have happened is I would have had the ports on the rad sticking towards each other, and I just would have gone out from one rad into the bottom of the next rad, and then out the top of the next rad to the other port coming up to the GPU. The reason why you want the out to be on the top in a vertical radiator is so that air can move. But obviously, as you can see, like, not all of it was moving apparently. And then every time I tip this, I get a crap ton of foam that moves. So I guess what I'm gonna do today then is I'm just gonna top this off. I'll go ahead and do the pressure test anyway, just for good measure, I guess. But I'll top this off and then I'll clean that up. And I guess that would be kind of it for today's video. I was expecting, quite honestly, to find a leak somewhere. Now, let's rewind a few videos to my bifurcation video. I have only 2 drives in here. One is underneath the sensor right here, because this is the Maximus Extreme board. This is like a $1,200 motherboard in here. Then, okay, let me also back up before I talk about the bifurcation video. Let me tell you what Skunkworks represents for me and why this was such a fun evolution of this build. Years ago, when I would build stuff like this, I got comments that were like, "That's so cool. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. I wish I had something like that." Fast forward to today's average viewer. That's stupid. That's overpriced. That's unnecessary. Like, this represents when I had so much fun on this channel, building cool stuff just because of the enthusiast that I am for PC building specifically. Like, I'm not nearly the enthusiast for PC gaming like I used to be, but I'm definitely an enthusiast for PC building. And so it just represents like the overkill nature of what's possible. This system at one point had 3 Titan X Maxwells in it. Here's the crazy part. Those Titans were 250 watt cards, and I had 3 of them, which was 750 watts of cooling. That's why I had a 520 or 560 in the bottom and a 280. And the average temperature on those GPUs was still cooler than this 4090 runs. It's like I said, this will get up to 52 degrees in gaming just because of the amount of heat, the size of the die and the density of that. This is still only about 100 watts more than a modern, the 3 Titans was still only about 100 to 150 watts more than what a modern 5090 by itself runs. And nowhere near what my modified XOC 5090 ran. So let's just talk about the DGAF when it comes to efficiency these days, right? But anyway, I just want to kind of say, like, this to me, it brings me happiness and joy to look at it, but it also brings me depression because of the average comments we get when we build something like this. It's just, I don't know what's happened to this viewer generation, but it is just nothing but saltiness, and I'm not going to change what makes me happy because it doesn't make you happy. What sense does that make for me, right? And if you're offended by that, then I'm not the problem. I just want to point that out real quick. But anyway, fast forward to the conversation I wanted to have about bifurcation. Is after we did that, I went, did I pay any attention to that? This is a 14900K, by the way. This 4090 is running Gen 4x8.
Yeah.
Not that it mattered. Actually, it's still like all of maybe 2% slower than it could have been if it was running Gen 4x16. But that just tells me, because again, 14900K, as we already know, if you put 1 drive in, that's all you get, right? You get 1 drive before you bifurcate the PCI Express for the graphics card down to 8X. But I have 2 drives in this, which obviously means now it is bifurcated down to 8X for the GPU. Again, doesn't really affect performance in this era. But you can bet your ass I checked over there to make sure I wasn't, because I am running 2 drives, but because I'm on a 9950X3D CPU and AMD gives you 2 NVMe slots direct to the CPU before it would bifurcate the 16X lane down to an 8X or something, I'm running a Gen 4 drive and a Gen 5 drive. So I have a T705 as my main system drive, and then like stuff I want to load faster. So games that have a lot of data I'll actually throw on there. And then I have a P310 Crucial, which is a Gen 4 drive running in the second NVMe slot. So yes, my graphics card, which is a 5090 over there, an Astro card on the Delta Mate water block from Der Bauer, Thermal Grizzly, it's all running the speeds it's supposed to. But because I hadn't really looked into it on the bifurcation side, since AMD does give you 2 Gen 5s direct to the CPU, I guess I could have thrown a Gen 5 drive in there, and it would have been fine as long as Gigabyte utilized those lanes in the way that they're allowed to use. See, for instance, our ASRock board only does Gen 5 and then Gen 4 and then PCI Express 5.0. Even though the CPU will allow you to do 2 Gen 5s, ASRock chose to just do a Gen 5 and a Gen 4, which I think is really dumb. I can't imagine the cost or the engineering or the input signaling would be that hard for them to implement on a $600 motherboard, okay? They would have made their money back regardless. But I don't know necessarily if the Gigabyte or S Extreme over there is 2 Gen 5s, I'd have to look. But unfortunately on that one, I can't get to the second drive to change to a Gen 5 drive if I wanted to, because stuff like this, where this isn't from that motherboard, but they will do now unified heatsink covers for the drives. You can see this one here would cover 3 drives. GPU is definitely covering it. And it sucks too, because that one's even a toolless removal. Like, it's literally fully toolless to bring that off. So that sort of sucks, but it doesn't matter. Again, 7,500 megabytes for my games to load, that's fine. I mean, my main drive, my T705, it's like 12,500. It's kind of crazy. Actually, no, T705 is higher. I think it's 15,000, up to almost 15,000. So I put Battlefield on that drive. I could definitely feel the vacuum pressure, because when there's air in there, it creates a vacuum when it's trying to move. But anyway, what I'm gonna do right now is I guess I need to get a 90 degree, because I'm not gonna get that to fit in there. Oh, I guess I could. I wanna do a pressure test just for my own sanity to ensure that there are no leaks, then I'll top it off. If you're doing water cooling builds, you absolutely need to get yourself a pressure tester. There is no valid excuse not to have one. Yeah, it's holding though, look. Vertical rads are a bitch to bleed, apparently. Now here's what sucks, is because I left the push down tube in, because I wanted them symmetrical, even though the return is on the top here, the return's on the bottom here, I can only fill it to where it touches the tube, and then it won't fill anymore, I'll just fill the tube. So I'll have to take off one of these side fittings there, but we'll just do this for now like this. I need like a coin or something to get one of those off. Oh. I just happen to have 2 cents.
Nice.
Just trying not to drop my penny like down inside somehow. Oh.
What are the odds?
I'll get it.
Like pachinko machine into the everything right into the little tiny slot.
Does it surprise you? No. I want to be even with that one. And I should probably go up a little bit, I guess, as it keeps going down, huh? It's okay though. It's not like it's going into daily operation anymore. This is the equivalent if when you go to like Shelby American and you see like an original like 60s Shelby Daytona or something just chilling there, never being driven again because it's a museum piece. Like, I think people become a little more triggered by the fact that I'll take a system like this and not use it anymore. Or like the EVGA E1 system, or any of the really cool builds. The cool thing is like builds like this, I would get comments that are like, that's not all that special. You didn't manufacture anything. You didn't CNC anything. Like there's guys out there that do insane builds where every component, like bracket and piece and stuff, they make from scratch. And I want to get to that point. I really do. I even got a couple of full copper, like 100% copper rads. I'll show you them in a sec. Because so many people showed me this wood build that this guy did as like a wall PC, but it's all like steampunk themed and has like pressure valves and all this stuff. I went, I'm sure I could solder copper pipe, and flux it. But one of the things that makes that look cool is the fact that it's all coppery and you want it to tarnish and look aged. So I bought I bought radiators for that build, and I'll show you them in a second, but I want to do something like that. But again, that would be a build for the sake of the build and learning. It wouldn't get used. It would probably be on display somewhere. Tell me this isn't gonna look sick in a steampunk themed build. This is bare copper. Even has some smashed fins already out of the box. You just saw me unbox it. But look at the rows. They're tubes. They're not rows. Like they're not regular rows. So this is a much more industrially type of radiator. It's also very heavy because every single aspect of this rad is copper. But I have 2 of them, and I'll need to take this off and 3D print something to go there so I can get rid of their logo. You might notice I have a couple other things here that I want to try and utilize in this. Here I have copper foil tape, 66 feet of it. This can actually be used for lower voltage leads and traces on things. So it might be neat to like, what if I created circuit traces for 12 volt stuff, right? Somehow. But it might just be tape, but it's actual copper. So this is very conductive, it's just very thin. So I don't know, like, I could potentially use it for, I don't know, fans, lighting, buses, stuff like that. Like I wouldn't use it for like 12 volt high power. But I also got this because I thought it might be neat to also make 12 volt bus bar that I can then have like leads directly soldered to it and make it very industrially looking. And this is why I say this is technically at this point dangerous, because it's fully exposed. So I've seen people do this before where they'll make a bus bar in their system and have like wires directly connected to it, and then power supply goes to that and then off. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just trying to get creative with it. I'm trying to bring some creativity like the old days back. I'm tired of letting all the negative people try and dictate the way content's made. I'm not doing that anymore. So, all right, guys. Thanks for watching. Sorry this was more of just a showcase of how to put coolant in a system. I legit thought it was leaking. I kept like shining a light under it on my desk. Like, is there fluid accumulating down there? Because it wouldn't be the first time I've had a leak in here. But back when it was like a Bumblebee black and yellow theme, I was having I had a leak. There's even a video about that. And of course, in typical fashion, the amount of like, see, water cooling's dumb, water cooling's stupid. I mean, that's fine. You can think it's dumb and stupid. You don't have to agree. We just have to be respectful. Idiots.